Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you the key to bringing him back isn't chasing or begging, but a secret inside you? In the next few minutes, you'll discover how confidence, grace, and healing can flip the script and make him come back 100% without losing yourself. Stay with me, because this truth will change everything you thought you knew about love and power. You don't need to chase anyone to feel validated. The truth is, when you start chasing someone, you silently tell yourself that they're more important than your peace, your worth, and your energy. But here's the real shift. The moment you stop running after someone, your power starts returning to you. That energy you gave away so freely now begins to refuel your confidence. You no longer wake up thinking about what they're doing or who they're with. You begin to wake up wondering who you're becoming. That mindset shift is magnetic. When you no longer seek approval, you start attracting respect, because people always notice what's no longer available to them. They start to feel your absence in spaces where your presence used to be loud. This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about stepping into the reality that you were never meant to be someone's option. You were born to be a force. Every second you spend waiting for someone to realize your value is a second taken away from your own growth. You deserve to be chosen without having to scream for attention. The minute you redirect your energy back into yourself, you become undeniable. You walk differently. You speak with more clarity, and you carry a kind of peace that only comes from knowing your worth. That peace can't be faked. It comes from doing the work, not just to move on, but to level up. You stop asking, will he come back? And start asking, am I even the same person who wanted him? Transformation doesn't start with someone coming back. It starts with someone walking away, and you deciding to rise anyway. That's where your power lives, not in their return, but in your rebuild. You begin to recognize that you don't need someone to complete you. You just need the courage to rediscover yourself. And once you're in that zone, when you're focused on your goals, your mental health, your self-respect, they will feel the shift. Suddenly the texts become more frequent. The calls start coming in. Not because you reached out, but because you didn't. Because you became so focused on your own path that they no longer feel your energy chasing them. And that silence, it becomes louder than words. When you start giving yourself the love you once gave someone else, you change your vibration. People feel it. That glow, that focus, that self-assurance, it's not a trick, it's alignment. And it's unstoppable. You no longer wait for closure or answers. You become the answer. You write a new story that doesn't need their approval to be powerful. That scares them. Because the version of you who once waited by the phone now runs her own life. And deep down, they know they lost something rare. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you're no longer available for anything less than what you deserve. They will come back. That's not even the question. The question is, will you still want them? Because when you evolve, you start to see things clearly. The way they treated you, the moments they didn't show up, the times they made you feel small, those things don't just disappear. You outgrow the need for someone who couldn't see your value the first time. That's not bitterness, that's evolution. You don't need revenge. Your success, your glow up, your healing, that's the loudest message you'll ever send. And by the time they come back, you've built a life so full that they no longer fit into the space they once occupied. Energy doesn't lie. People know when you're no longer accessible, when you stop checking in, stop reaching out, stop making them a priority. They notice. And the moment they do, they start chasing the version of you they once took for granted. But here's the thing. You're no longer chasing them. You're chasing purpose, peace, passion. You're showing up for yourself in ways you never did before. And that makes you powerful beyond words. Because it's not about getting someone back. It's about getting you back. That's the comeback that really matters. And it's the one they didn't see coming. You become magnetic when you stop trying to prove your worth. When you accept that what's meant for you will never have to be forced, everything shifts. You move from desperation to confidence, from confusion to clarity. You learn to trust your silence more than your explanations, because silence is powerful. It's calm, it's controlled. And when you learn to sit with yourself in the quiet, you find answers that noise could never give. That's when people start wondering what changed, why you're not chasing, why you're glowing. But the truth is, you simply return home to yourself. There's no greater transformation than becoming unavailable to what once broke you. You stop replaying old conversations. You stop writing imaginary messages in your head. You begin to live in the present, to build your future. The version of you who once needed constant reassurance becomes the version who reassures herself. That shift shakes everything. It teaches you that your value was never in their hands, it was always in yours. And when you stop handing it out for free, people start realizing just how expensive your presence really is. That's when they come back. But by then, you've changed. You don't attract love by begging for it. You attract love by being love, by treating yourself with the very care, attention, and respect you hope someone else would offer. You become the example, the standard. And in doing so, you set a new bar, not just for others, but for yourself. You start to realize that maybe the heartbreak was the blessing. Maybe the rejection was redirect. Maybe the silence was protection. Everything starts to make sense when you focus on your growth instead of your grief, because you rise. And in that rising, you become unforgettable. He might come back. He might finally see your worth. But by the time he does, you'll be too far ahead. Not because you're trying to hurt him, but because you finally healed you. And when you heal, when you grow, when you evolve, you become someone even you admire. That's what matters. Not their return, not their regret, but your rise. That's the story worth writing. That's the life worth living. And when you live like that, boldly, fearlessly, unapologetically, everything that's meant for you finds its way back, including sometimes the ones who once walked away. But now the choice is yours. Confidence is not about loud words or dramatic gestures. It's about quiet power. It's the way you walk into a room without needing to be seen but still get noticed. It's the way you speak with clarity because you've done the work to know who you are. When you stop performing for the approval of others and start showing up for yourself, something changes. You begin to radiate a calm, magnetic energy that can't be ignored. People are drawn to those who are sure of themselves, not because of arrogance, but because of authenticity. You don't have to chase someone when you're already whole. The most attractive energy in the world is someone who knows what they bring to the table and doesn't need to beg anyone to sit with them. Your value becomes self-evident, and from that place, you stop competing and start choosing. Leveling up doesn't mean becoming someone you're not. It means becoming more of who you already are. It's stripping away the parts of you that were built from insecurity, from needing validation, from chasing someone who couldn't see your worth. It means investing in yourself without waiting for someone else to co-sign your glow. You start eating better, speaking kinder to yourself, and working on your goals not to impress anyone, but because you deserve that version of you. And the crazy part? That's when people start paying attention. Not when you try to get them back, but when you finally stop trying. When you're focused on your mission, your healing, your happiness, that's when you become unforgettable. Because you're not performing, you're becoming. There is something powerful about someone who doesn't flinch in their solitude. When you can sit alone and not feel empty. When your joy is no longer dependent on someone else's presence. You become rare. That's the kind of presence that turns heads. It's not about how you look, it's about how you carry your story. You've been through heartbreak, through disappointment, through rejection, and yet, you still rise. You still love. You still believe in your future. That kind of resilience is beautiful. That kind of strength is what makes people stop and look twice. It's not your pain that makes you powerful, but your ability to transform it. You become the proof that confidence isn't about perfection, but about presence. You don't need anyone to complete you because you were never broken. That idea that someone else has to validate your worth is the lie you unlearn. You start realizing that you were always the prize, even when someone couldn't see it. And the more you start acting like it, the more life mirrors that back to you. Your energy shifts, your standards rise. You no longer accept crumbs because you've learned to feed yourself. You walk away from anyone who makes you question your value instead of trying to prove it. That's what confidence looks like. Quiet exits, calm boundaries, and an unshakable trust in your own light. And that light, it becomes impossible to ignore. When you start choosing yourself consistently, you send a powerful message to the world. I am enough. Not, I will be enough when someone loves me, but I am enough now. That shift is everything. It changes how you speak about yourself, how you walk into opportunities, how you handle rejection. You stop taking things personally and start taking things intentionally. You recognize that not every closed door is a loss, some are protection. And instead of shrinking, you rise. Because you're not here to beg anyone to see you, you're here to see yourself clearly. That's the kind of self-assurance that echoes even in silence. You don't chase someone back by losing yourself. You draw them in by finding yourself again. When you're too busy becoming your best version, you don't have time to worry about who left. And ironically, that's what pulls people in. They feel your shift. They notice the glow. But more importantly, you notice it. You start smiling without needing a reason. You start waking up with purpose. And you begin to realize that the love you wanted from them was always meant to start with you. That's the twist no one sees coming. The version of you who once needed their attention now only needs her own alignment. It's okay to admit that you once wanted someone back so badly it hurt. That kind of honesty is strength, not weakness. But now you use that pain as fuel. Not to prove something to them, but to evolve for yourself. You no longer walk into rooms wondering if they'll be there. You walk in, wondering how much more of your potential you'll discover. And that mindset is a game changer. You set goals not to impress, but to progress. You surround yourself with energy that feeds your growth. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And suddenly, your life becomes too full to hold space for someone who didn't know how to hold you. People come back when they feel what they once had is no longer available. But by the time they do, you're no longer the same. You've leveled up, not in spite of their absence, but because of it. You've learned to be your own biggest fan, your own safe place, your own validation. And that glow, that growth, speaks louder than any words ever could. They'll wonder what changed. They'll wonder how you moved on, but you won't need to explain. Your energy will speak for itself. Because confidence isn't about proving someone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The more you align with your truth, the more people start aligning with you. But the key is this: you don't wait for their approval to do it. You become so in love with your journey, so invested in your own story, that anyone who comes along becomes a bonus, not a necessity. You stop needing to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. That kind of confidence is rare. It's the kind that makes people stop scrolling. It's the kind that makes silence powerful. It's not loud, but it's unforgettable. Because when you're truly confident, You don't have to chase attention. You command respect. So if you want someone to come back, don't do it for them, do it for you. Become the version of yourself that you once thought only existed in dreams. Get up every day and become her. Not because they're watching, but because you are. Watch yourself bloom, watch yourself rise, watch yourself become someone you're proud to be. And when they come back, and they probably will, you'll be in a place so full, so grounded, so vibrant, that their presence is no longer your focus. Your focus is your purpose, your glow, your journey. And that more than anything else is what makes you truly unstoppable. Grace is not weakness. It's the strength to walk away when you could have stayed and fought for something that was never fighting for you. It's the calm in your heart when chaos tries to pull you back in. The power in not reacting, in not texting back, in not needing the last word. When you choose grace over games, you instantly shift the energy. You stop trying to win someone back and start winning yourself again. You're no longer playing the part of the one who begs to be seen. You become the one who chooses to be invisible when respect is missing. And that kind of presence, quiet, poised, unbothered, stays with people longer than any argument or tear ever could. Grace makes them remember you, not for how loud you were, but for how powerfully you let go. People expect you to break. They expect you to cry, to chase, to lose your sense of self when they pull away. And maybe for a moment you do. But then comes the stillness, the decision to rise, not in anger, but in purpose. Grace is knowing you have every reason to fall apart, but you don't. You choose growth. You choose peace. You choose to preserve your energy for what builds you, not what broke you. The most unforgettable response is not revenge, it's recovery. It's when you level up so quietly that they can feel your absence echoing louder than your presence ever did. Because they knew who you were when you loved them, but they never imagined who you'd become once you loved yourself more. There's a certain type of power in restraint, in not answering the message that disrespected your silence, in walking away from a conversation designed to provoke you. People remember those who refuse to lose their dignity just to prove a point. You don't need to explain what they already know. You don't have to justify the decision to protect your peace. When someone shows you inconsistency, the most graceful thing you can do is exit consistently, with a soft heart but a firm boundary. No screaming, no begging, just presence, then absence. That transition leaves a mark, not because you wanted to teach them a lesson, but because you finally learned yours. Letting go with grace doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It means you were, but you chose not to let that pain turn you into someone bitter. You let it grow you instead. You found meaning in the silence. You discovered strength in the stillness. And in that quiet, you started to rebuild. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. Healing became your priority. Peace became your goal. And every time you resisted the urge to go backward, you moved forward, faster, deeper, stronger. That kind of growth doesn't make noise, but it echoes. It's the sound of self-respect, and it's unforgettable. The old you would have sent the text, would have begged for clarity, would have tried to fix what wasn't yours to fix. But now, you see it differently. You've outgrown that version of yourself. The one who needed closure so badly she'd sacrifice her peace just to get a few more words. You've learned that the greatest closure is self-closure. The moment you stop needing their explanation and start trusting your intuition. When you realize that walking away doesn't mean you lost, it means you remembered who you are. That evolution is what grace looks like. It's quiet, it's confident, and it's life-changing. People don't expect you to rise with grace. They expect drama, retaliation, chaos. But when you show them elevation instead, it confuses them. They start asking, why you're not reacting, why you're so calm, why you're glowing instead of breaking. That's when they feel the shift. That's when they realize your silence has more power than their presence. Because you didn't need to burn bridges. You just outgrew the road. And while they're stuck repeating cycles, you're building something new. A life where your peace is protected, a space where your value is known, a future where your healing is your loudest answer. There's dignity in detachment, in not needing to prove your worth to someone who made you question it. You no longer need their validation to know you are enough. You carry that knowing in how you speak, how you move, how you protect your heart. The love you once gave so freely is now being redirected inward, and it shows in your focus, in your boundaries, in your glow. Grace is not just about walking away, it's about how you rise after, with purpose, with peace, with power. And that version of you, that's the one they'll never forget. You don't have to convince anyone to stay. If someone can walk away from you, let them. Let them go with love in your heart and strength in your step. Because anyone who can leave you during your season of growth was never meant to stay for your harvest. You are not hard to love. You were just offering it to someone who couldn't receive it. And now, your grace becomes your shield. Your self-respect becomes your standard. You're no longer begging to be understood. You're choosing to be at peace. And when peace becomes your priority, you stop chasing chaos disguised as love. One day, they'll look back and realize what they lost. Not because you told them, but because your absence made them feel it. The space you once filled with love, support, consistency, that space is now silent. And silence has a way of revealing truths words never could. They'll remember how you never needed to scream to be heard, how you never needed to hurt them to show your pain. And by then, you'll have moved on. Not out of spite, but out of growth. Because grace doesn't seek revenge, it seeks evolution. And once you've tasted peace, you never settle for pain again. You chose yourself. You chose grace. And in doing so, you broke a cycle that could have kept you stuck. You became the version of yourself who doesn't need to be chosen to know her worth. The one who doesn't chase closure to feel complete. You became the version who walks away with soft eyes and a strong heart, knowing that letting go with grace is sometimes the greatest power of all. Because at the end of the day, how you leave says more than how you stayed. And when you walk out with your head held high, you remind the world and yourself that your peace was never up for negotiation. Healing is a journey that often feels loud inside, even when the world around you is quiet. It's a process that requires you to face the pain, sit with the discomfort, and sometimes relive moments you'd rather forget. But healing loudly doesn't mean screaming or demanding attention. It means showing up for yourself in ways that can't be ignored. It's about choosing to grow out of the wounds instead of hiding them. When you commit to your healing, every part of your life begins to shift. Your mindset changes, your energy evolves, and your presence becomes more powerful. People around you start noticing the transformation, not because you're boasting, but because your growth speaks volumes without words. The quiet part of healing is just as important as the loud. Shining quietly means you don't have to broadcast your progress to prove you're better. Your success, your happiness, your newfound peace become your statement. You no longer need validation from others because you see your own worth clearly. This kind of shine is magnetic and authentic. It draws the right people and repels the toxic ones. It's the calm confidence that comes from knowing you have weathered storms and emerged stronger. When you love yourself fully, it radiates naturally and people feel it. They sense the boundary you've built and the self-respect you carry. That quiet glow is a signal. You're healed, you're whole, and you're not available for less than you deserve. Healing loudly is also about being unapologetically real. It means embracing your scars as part of your story, not something to be ashamed of. When you stop hiding your struggles, you allow yourself to be seen fully. That vulnerability creates a powerful energy that invites others to respect and honor your journey. It's no longer about seeking sympathy or pity, but about standing tall in your truth. You become a living example of resilience. People are drawn to authenticity because it's rare and refreshing. The more you show up as your true self, the more your inner light grows, and that light is impossible to ignore. It shines brighter than any doubt or fear. Transformation through healing also involves releasing old patterns and limiting beliefs. When you heal loudly, you make a conscious decision to break free from the stories that held you back. You rewrite your narrative from one of pain to one of power. You stop repeating the same cycles of hurt and disappointment. Instead, you create new habits, new mindsets, and new relationships that support your growth. That process can be messy and uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Each step forward strengthens your foundation and adds to your glow. Over time, your life looks different, not because you erased the past, but because you learned from it. Your healing becomes your superpower, attracting abundance, peace, and love. People who truly heal don't wait for permission to be happy. They claim their joy even when it feels undeserved. They find peace in the present moment, instead of clinging to what once was. Healing loudly means prioritizing your well-being above all else. It means saying no to anything that doesn't serve your growth, even if it means walking away from familiar people or situations. That kind of courage inspires others. It creates a ripple effect that encourages those around you to examine their own lives. When you choose healing over hurting, you lead by example. Your journey becomes a beacon for anyone searching for hope and strength. One of the most powerful parts of healing is the realization that you don't need anyone else to complete you. That idea, once so hard to grasp, becomes clear as you invest in yourself. You discover that your worth isn't dependent on someone else's love or attention. That independence fuels your growth and deepens your confidence. When you stop seeking validation externally, you find it within. This self-sufficiency is liberating and transformative. It shifts your energy from scarcity to abundance. And with that shift, the people who come into your life do so because they genuinely want to be there, not because you needed them to be. Healing loudly means you're no longer available for less than you deserve. Growth through healing also teaches patience. It's a reminder that transformation takes time, and that rushing the process only causes more pain. When you heal loudly, you embrace the journey in its entirety, the good days and the bad, the progress and the setbacks. You learn to be kind to yourself, to celebrate small victories, and to keep moving forward even when it feels slow. That patience builds resilience and strengthens your resolve. It reminds you that true healing isn't about perfection, but about progress. Over time, you become more grounded, more centered, and more aligned with your true self. That alignment shines quietly but powerfully. Healing loudly is a declaration that you are no longer defined by your past. It's a statement that you're choosing life, love, and joy over pain and regret. This declaration doesn't require shouting, it demands action. It's in the choices you make daily, choosing self-care over self-destruction, choosing peace over conflict, choosing growth over stagnation. Each choice adds to your momentum and builds your shine. People may not always understand your journey, but they'll respect the results. Because healing loudly is about living your truth, boldly and unapologetically. It's about showing the world that you are stronger than your struggles and brighter than your scars. When you heal loudly and shine quietly, you reclaim your power. You no longer wait for someone else to fix your broken pieces because you've learned how to put yourself back together. This kind of self-reliance changes everything. It reshapes how you view relationships, success, and happiness. It makes you less fearful of loss and more excited about possibilities. You become a magnet for genuine connection and authentic love. And the most important relationship, the one you have with yourself, becomes your foundation. From that foundation, you build a life that reflects your worth and honors your journey. Healing loudly is not just recovery, it's a revolution within you. Ultimately, healing loudly and shining quietly is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It's a promise to never settle for less than you deserve. It's a commitment to honor your journey and trust your growth. It means embracing every part of your story, the pain, the lessons, the breakthroughs. And in doing so, you become an inspiration not just to others, but to yourself. Your transformation becomes a living testament to the power of love, resilience, and self-belief. When you heal loudly and shine quietly, you light the way for those who will follow.